Speak, starting on page 61. Wishbone. I want to make a memorial for our turkey. Never has a bird been so tortured to provide such a lousy dinner. I dig the bones out of the trash and bring them to art class. Mr. Freeman is thrilled. He tells me to work on the bird but keep thinking tree. Mr. Freeman says, you're on fire, Melinda. I can see it in your eyes. You're caught up in the meaning, in the subjectivity of the effect of commercialism on this holiday. This is wonderful, wonderful. Be the bird. You are the bird. Sacrifice yourself to abandon family values and canned yams. Whatever. At first, I want to glue the bones together in a heap like firewood. Get it? Tree equals firewood. But Mr. Freeman sighs. I can do better, he says. I arrange the bones on a black piece of paper and try to draw a turkey around it. I don't need Mr. Freeman to tell me it stinks. By this point, he has thrown himself back into his own painting and has forgotten we exist. He is working on a huge canvas. It started out bleak, a gutted building along a gray road on a rainy day. He spent a week painting dirty coins on the sidewalk, sweating to get them just right. He painted the faces of school board members peering out the windows of the building. Then he put bars on the windows and turned the building into a prison. His canvas is better than TV because you never know what is going to happen next. I crumple the paper and lay out the bones on the table. Melinda Sordino, anthropologist. I have unearthed the remains of a hideous sacrifice. The bell rings, and I look at Mr. Freeman with puppy dog eyes. He says he'll call my Spanish teacher with some kind of excuse. I can stay for another class period. When Ivy hears this, she begs permission to stay late too. She's trying to conquer her fear of clowns. She's constructing some weird sculpture, a mask behind a clown's face. Mr. Freeman says yes to Ivy too. She waggles her eyebrows at me and grins. By the time I figure out that this might be a good time to say something friendly to her, she's back at work. I glue the bones to a block of wood, arranging the skeleton like a museum exhibit. I find knives and forks in the odds and ends bin, and glue them so it looks like they're attacking the bones. I take a step back. It isn't quite done. I rummage in the bin again and find a half-melted palm tree from a Lego set. It'll do. Mr. Freeman hangs on to everything a normal person would throw out. Happy Meal toys, lost playing cards, grocery store receipts, keys, dolls, a salt shaker, trains. How does he know this stuff could be art? I pop the head off a Barbie doll and set it inside the turkey's body. That feels right. Ivy walks past and looks. She arches her left eyebrow and nods. I wave my hand and Mr. Freeman comes over to inspect. He almost faints with delight. Mr. Freeman. Excellent, excellent. What does this say to you? Darn, I didn't know there would be a quiz. I clear my throat. I can't get any words out. It is too dry. I try again with a little cough. Mr. Freeman. Sore throat? Don't worry, it's going around. Want me to tell you what I see? I nod in relief. I see a girl caught in the remains of a holiday gone bad, with her flesh picked off day after day as the carcass dries out. The knife and fork are obviously middle-class sensibilities. The palm tree is a nice touch. A broken dream, perhaps? Plastic honeymoon, deserted island? Oh, if you put it in a slice of pumpkin pie, it could be a deserted island. Well, desert it island. No, desert it island, sorry. I laugh in spite of myself. I'm getting the hang of this. While Ivy and Mr. Freeman watch, I reach in and pluck out the Barbie head. I set it on top of the bony carcass. There is no place for the palm tree. I toss that aside. I move the knife and fork so they look like legs. I place a piece of tape over Barbie's mouth. Me, do you have any twigs, little branches? I could use them to make the arms. Ivy opens her mouth to say something, then closes it again. Mr. Freeman studies my homely project. He doesn't say anything, and I'm afraid he's pissed that I took out the palm tree. Ivy tries again. It's scary, she says, in a weird way. Not clown scary. How do I say this? Like you don't want to look at it too long. Good job, Mel. That's not the reaction I was hoping for, but I guess it was positive. She could have turned her nose up or ignored me, but she didn't. Mr. Freeman taps his chin. He looks way too serious to be an art teacher. He's making me nervous. Mr. Freeman says, This has meaning. Pain. The bell rings. I leave before he can say more. Peeled and cored. We are studying fruit and biology. Miss Keene has spent a week teaching us the finer points of stamens and pistils, seed pods and flowers. The earth is frozen, it snows lightly at night, but Miss Keene is determined to keep spring alive in her classroom. The back row sleeps until she points out the apple trees need bees to reproduce. Reproduce is a trigger word for the back row. They have figured out it is related to sex. The lecture on pistils and stamens turns into a big ha-ha. Miss Keene has been teaching since the Middle Ages. It would take more than a row full of overheated hypothalami to distract her from the day's lesson. She calmly proceeds to the hands-on portion of the lab. Apples. We each get a Rome or a Cortland or a Macintosh and a plastic knife. We are instructed to dissect. The back row holds sword fights. Miss Keene silently writes their names on the blackboard along with their current grade. She takes 1 point off for every minute the sword fight continues. They go from low B's to very low C's before they figure out what is going on. They howl. Back row says, "That's not fair. You can't do that to us. You didn't give us a chance." She takes off another point. They saw their apples. Mutter, mutter, curse, curse, old cow, stupid teacher. David Petricus, my lab partner, cuts his apple into 8 equal wedges. He doesn't say a word. He is in the middle of a pre-med week. David can't make up his mind between pre-med and pre-law. 9th grade is a minor inconvenience to him. A Zit Cream commercial before the feature film of life. Apple smell soaks the air. One time when I was little, my parents took me to an orchard. Daddy set me high in an apple tree. It was like falling up into a storybook, yummy and red and leaf, and the branch not shaking a bit. Bees bumbled through the air, so stuffed with apple they couldn't be bothered to sting me. The sun warmed my hair, and the wind pushed my mother into my father's arms, and all the apple-picking parents and children smiled for a long, long minute. That's how biology class smells. I bite my apple. White teeth, red apple, hard juice, deep bite. David sputters. David said, "You're not supposed to do that. She'll kill you. You're supposed to cut it. Didn't you even listen? You'll lose points." Clearly, David missed the apple tree sitting requirement of childhood. I cut the rest of my apple into 4 flat pieces. My apple has 12 seeds. One of the seeds has split its shell and reaches a white hand upward. An apple tree growing from an apple seed growing in an apple. I show the little plant seed to Miss Keene. She gives me extra credit. David rolls his eyes. Biology is so cool.